Hi, I'm Venessa Giunta. I am an author and an editor and an all-around like to talk about things person and a little awkward sometimes. One of my favorite things to do is talk to authors, right? I love talking to authors about their process, their writing, their careers, their marketing, all those things. And I really love just sitting down and just talking about stuff. I mean, communication is my love language. So that's really what I had in mind. I really wanted a situation where I could just have a conversation with somebody. So, and a conversation and a cocktail is really all about us hanging out and drinking together and talking about the stuff.
Yay! Wait, now I can't hear you. You're muted. There you go.
Hang on. Oh yeah, he didn't unmute me in time. Hi everybody. Sorry about that. I'm not even gonna get into it. What are you drinking, JD?
I am actually drinking. It's a twist on a Moscow Mule, on a Montana Mule. It's bourbon. It is blood orange ginger beer, and I did add a couple of dashes of bitters for good measure and overkill.
You got fancy.
Not really.
I decided I still wanted to stick with tea, so I have a cinnamon rooibos that I drink habitually, and I just added some Fireball.
That works.
Additional spice.
I was like, we can do tea.
You can drink whatever you want.
No, that is not a Johnny Cash glass. That is a Daniel California glass.
Nice. And welcome to everybody. Hello, Anita. And hello, Tiffany. Good to see y'all. Yay. So I also have my cat. This is my cat mug. Oh, you can see
that is cute.
So yeah, so this was my cat Pixie, and she was with me for 18 years. And we had to put her to sleep a few years ago. So my husband had that mug made.
That's right. And for water, hydration.
Hydration is important. I have nothing to hydrate with. I guess I'm going to have a hangover.
This is gin water.
Okay.
Go indie now.
Tiffany says, Fireball and me are not friends anymore. Oh, that's sad. Do you want to know what Fireball's really good in? A good apple juice.
Really? But yeah. That makes sense. Cinnamon and apple, that's a good combo.
So good.
All right. But I think everyone has one liquor that just did them dirty at one point. Yeah. I can't even smell Dewar's and 7-Up. Oh Lord, the thought of it makes me.
For a lot of people, I think it's tequila. Oh, cinnamon schnapps. I like cinnamon. I like cinnamon in anything. It doesn't matter. I actually don't have anything that has done me in because I'm not really I don't like the taste of alcohol. So I have to have it mixed with stuff that masks the taste of alcohol. So even if I do get sick, which I don't get alcohol sick. I never have. But even if I did, I wouldn't necessarily associate it with the taste of the alcohol. I'd have it associated with the taste of whatever the mixer was.
That just means you've never gotten trashed to that point, and I commend you and salute you. Everyone should be that wise.
I was always the DD.
No.
Always the DD.
I got my license at 18, and before that, oh Lord.
Ooh, yeah, I wasn't a big drinker. I actually got drunk at 14 and decided that was not for me. I was like, nope, not doing that again. Made me really uncomfortable.
You know that dynamic of the father at the table, and it's like, whatever's left over in a plate they'll have.
Yeah.
Well, I was like that, but with drinks in my teens. I was like, I don't like this drink. I'll have it.
I'll have it. I got it for you.
So
Go ahead.
Tequila sunrise, White Russian, Sex on the Beach, and
Ooh.
some other mixed drink. Just try to imagine
Ooh.
that concoction in your stomach.
Yuck. I did apparently get drunk when I was 6. Or 5. I obviously don't remember it, but it was my mom. My mom got remarried, and apparently, I was the flower girl. So I was this cute little. I was adorable. I had this orange hair, and I was running around in my pretty dress and stuff. And a whole bunch of people were giving me little sips of their drink, and I ended up hammered. And I ended up falling asleep. I'm 6. It probably took 2 sips. So like somebody actually took a picture of me with like a vodka bottle, like between like I was asleep in a vodka bottle, and it's hilarious. I posted it as a throwback Thursday a few years ago. It was pretty funny.
If you post that again, please either tag or forward.
I will do that.
I have compromising pictures that I'm like, please don't resurface.
My husband just stuck his head in, and he held in a can of Heineken, and I was like, I don't drink beer. And he's like, I'm joining you. Okay. Cheers.
Cheers to the hubs.
Okay, enough about the booze. I'm sure we'll come back to it.
But why?
But why? It's a good topic. So my first question to all my guests is always, what is your origin story? Like your origin story as JD Estrada writer.
Well, the name is one thing, and how I got through with it is another. One day I was watching TV, had my leg up, I had music on, I was chatting on MSN Messenger, and I was probably doing something else because you're an idiot and you multitask to a point where it's just not sustainable. At least in this day and age, I couldn't do what I used to do. So I was doing that, and I saw a commercial for Underworld, and I was like, that looks cool, but I think I can write something better than that. And that dick comment led me to outline the thing. And then I got to writing. And funny story, if eventually someone reads like the first 3 chapters that are similar in another book, that's because I actually lost the first notebook that had the first 3 chapters of Only Human.
And I'm sure someone stole it and then
no. I left it in a plane.
Right, and then somebody found it and they finished it and then they published it.
Well, fortunately, no one has said like that's my idea or anything like that. And if they do, I'm gonna see them like in a corner with a notebook and with my chicken scratchings. And they had to get some type of sorcerer to decipher what I wrote because my handwriting is not the best, especially when I'm in flow. So there's that, and then I decided to write that thing, and at the same time I was writing a lot of poetry. At the same time I was writing short stories, and that's me. I'm a lot of at the same time, and I always enjoy variety in music and movies and video games and books and everything. And with my writing, it's the same. So. Long story short, finish the damn thing. And then I'm gonna be on a show. I'm gonna be at the Puerto Rico Comic-Con 2014. So I finished my novel in 2013, digital, and it took me, oh Lord, just wrangling Create Space until I was able to print the damn thing, because the margins were all wonky, and I was doing it by myself.
There wasn't nearly as much stuff out there on how to do things back then.
No, I learned the very uncomfortable, hard, horizontal suppository approach of learning. It was not smooth at all. But eventually I learned. Eventually I printed it, and in classic me fashion, basically I received the shipment of my books the day that I had to set up on the Puerto Rico Comic-Con. So I like to live on the edge that way. So I had Only Human. I had Between the Tides, which is my first poetry collection, and I had the first incarnation of the Daydreams on the Sherbet Shore. The Daydreams on the Sherbet Shore are whimsical short stories that take place in the dream world, called That I Am. I wrote these and I would put them on my blog. I would invite people to my stories, like, instead of a Willy Wonka ticket, you can be in a short story. And I would just take people on adventures. Eventually, it's continued to evolve, and it's really become something very, very personal and very sweet to me, and something very near and dear to my heart. But those first daydreams, we actually printed them out and we hand bound those first editions. I'm pretty sure I still have some of those still in storage. I don't think I'm going to sell them anymore, in case I make it big.
Then you could sell it for a lot.
Nah. Me and my in-laws were the ones that were hand binding those, and that was my mother-in-law, my wife's grandmother, may she rest in peace, my wife, and it was a family event. So it was very sweet. So I went there and I dove in the deep end. I ordered books, and for a nobody who no one knew, and etc. I didn't have a bad show. I actually sold way more books than the only show I've done stateside. But that was that, and I've just kept going to the Puerto Rico Comic Con. I've kept publishing at least something for Mother's Day every year. I'm up to 21 books. 22 and 23 are just need a push, but bandwidth, energy, stamina, all those things are there. So yeah, that's my origin story. And in terms of the author name, my name is Jorge. It is a very, very common name. And I wanted to do a tribute to mom. So if you say my name in Spanish, JD Estrada, it would mean that I am Estrada's Estrada's J, and I've always been a mama's boy. So I wanted my pen name to be a tribute to mom too.
Oh, that's so sweet. I think that's probably the sweetest pen name origin story we've ever had.
Yeah.
I love that. Yay.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about Daydreams in the Sherbet Shore for a minute, and I think we've got those covers if Joe wants to put them up, or maybe you just like, there they are. So these are kids' books, right?
These are kids' books. These are middle grade, and I don't talk about them nearly as much as I should.
And now's your time.
Yeah, and these are, try to imagine, equal parts Peter Pan, equal parts Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, set in a dream world. These are fun. There's a lot of whimsical, random fun, where people drink Curiosity Cola out of light bulbs, where the sands of the Sherbet Shore, depending on the time of the day and depending on the time of the year, they taste different. So if it's in the afternoon in autumn, it can probably be like plum, but if it's summertime, it could be mango, it could be pineapple. Depends on the time of the day too. And it's always something that I've always found refreshing about middle grade and kids books is that there's no rules. Mm-hmm. It's just fun, and I wanted something with no violence that's just fun, to find as many smiles as I can from the first sentence to the last period.
I feel like I need these books in my life right now.
When I write middle grade, again, it's me searching for as many smiles as possible. If you see the difference from this is the first volume, this is the second one. Yes. These are 5 short stories.
Oh, wow.
Each short story is about 20 pages long. Short story, quote unquote. I wanted to flesh them out. I wanted to bring that world, more alive. And, the next step after this is probably to write an entire daydream novel. And from here on out, I think that's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And I continue to invite people. From the second Daydreams, I invited, from seeing the titles, I can tell you who I invited. Kitties and Cake is a friend from the UK. The Savory Sensational Sabbatical is another friend from the UK, but I invited her and her parents. So in that short story, we go to the Mandarin Museum to see art exhibits in the dream world. So try to imagine what an art exhibit in the dream world could be. Um, I don't want to offer spoilers, but try to imagine there's a living story inside one of these galleries. The living
Oh,
story is an animal too.
oh,
I'm gonna
I
leave
really
that.
don't read these books.
Ripples and Memories. That one was actually a tribute to a good friend from grade school. He passed away in a car accident, and I wanted to write something for his daughters because when I thought about Juan, I was like, I don't have one negative memory about this guy,
Mm.
and I'm not looking to bash him. It's like, we weren't super close or anything, but I never remembered him crying, angry, fighting. I always remembered him smiling, having fun, helping people out. And for you to know someone for any period of time, and
Yeah.
for that to be the case, I wanted them to know that at least that was my impression of him, and that he was a really good guy, and that I was very I was very fortunate to know him, and that I know that it hurts and that they lost him, but ripples and memories, they go to the memory mine so that they can pick their favorite memories from time to time, and they can hang out with their memories. So that short
Oh,
story is about that.
I want that. I want to be
And
able to do that.
a hat trick or three is actually a friend from the States and her entire family. It's got a lot of characters there, but um I asked her about her daughters and her son's mannerisms and stuff that they did. We even included a really close friend of the family. It was a young kid. He had actually had an aneurysm.
Mm.
So I weave that into the story as a get well to him, and also a get well to another person that they knew. That's what this project has become. And the last one is Ribbons and Smile, and that is for Sima Tabasum, Tahir, her husband, and Apu, her son. I wanted to take this entire family on an adventure to find smiles and do something that we have to do as a collective so that smiles would rain down on the world.
Oh,
Um,
these are really like a love letter to
they're all.
humans that you know, which I think is amazing. And I'm totally going to get these books now. And what I'll probably do is I'll probably read them and then I'll hold on to them for like 5 years because I have a niece who's 5 years old, and so she'll be old enough to read them then. So I'll just keep collecting them as you publish them and just read them and then keep them safe for her. So
No, and I did want to talk about these books and other stuff because often, yeah, I also write urban fantasy, and I've written horror and stuff like that. It was at the same time that I released the second Daydreams, I released a horror collection in Spanish called Penumbra, and it is messed up. It is messed up. But I wanted to show that they're always going to recommend it, and it is good and sage advice to focus on a genre. But it's been a while, and I'm not doing this for the money. I'm doing this for me and for my readers. And fortunately, I've people enjoy my writing enough to give me a break across genres, and I think that's huge. Sure, I'm not making huge bank, but people go like, "Oh, so you released that," and rather than go like, "Why did you release that?" They're like, "Ah, let's see what you did in this genre."
yeah.
So I've conditioned them to to be more tolerant of my whimsies and whatever takes my fancy.
They're like, oh, JD's going romping through the genres again. Let's go see what he's working on.
The thing is that what that has brought forth is people go like, "Oh, have you tried this genre?" And some things I have considered, some things I'm working on. I'm working on a sci-fi novella that I parked years back because I got the same feedback from two people that don't know each other. And they were like, "Have you read The Martian?" And I'm like, "Wow. Okay, let me read The Martian and let me revisit this after I've written a lot of stuff and I've honed my craft so that I can make sure that I can address that." Because they didn't say it disparagingly. They weren't like, "Oh, that's awful." But they were like, "Have you read that?" And I'm like, "I have to read it." And I haven't, but I have the book.
So you will.
So that, and people, but sometimes they get super specific. It's like, are you exploring anything about hope punk? And I'm like, well, what? And then
Yeah.
these subgenres, and I go like, not necessarily. Um,
But I think it's a cool idea though, because you can then, I think from how you've been talking, the middle grade books, the Sherbert Shore books,
mhm.
are especially for you to bring like happiness and stuff. But it also feels like that is sometimes sort of, pushed into the middle grade demographic. But Hope Punk allows you to bring the happiness, the joy, and stuff like that into adult books as well.
In Only Human and Shadow of a Human, there are moments of levity and
Mhm.
really sweet moments. I think one of my favorite chapters that I wrote in Only Human specifically, there's a chapter where they arrive at Lake Tama. Lake Tama is a lake in Eritrea. How you pronounce it? Because I get sometimes it's late and the two languages are dueling. Um, but in that country, that lake. So they arrived there and they're going to meet the equivalent of plant people. Try to imagine Lord of the Rings, but not. It's there's a hierarchy. They're not all ants. They're not all large trees, etc. They're younglings and they're saplings and they're roots, and then there's branches, and then there are perennials, and then the Yggdrasil are like the elders.
Mhm.
So before they meet all those people, they actually meet. Try to imagine mud children or mud kids, but they look like kids, and these people are out to save the world, etc. And in this little moment, they actually play tag with mud children in front of a lake, and they allow themselves a moment of joy. And
Yay.
people go, "Why did you write that?" And I'm like, "Why not?"
Yeah. I think that I personally, as a reader, I've read a ton of horror in my life. Like my teens and my 20s were almost exclusively horror. Um, I mean, not necessarily the years, what I was reading, also a little bit the years, but mostly what I was reading. Um, so, but there also needs to be lightness, even in horror, especially in horror, because there needs to be some balance because life isn't all horror. Even when it's horrible, there are still moments of joy, like playing tag with the little mud children, you know? So, like there are moments of joy and moments of levity. And I will say that like there was one book that I read that was so dark and just so like the atmosphere was so oppressive, and it ended the same way. Like there was no, I won't read that author anymore. And he's a huge author, and I just won't read him because it was just too dark for me. There was no hope. It didn't
That-
feel like it.
That's
So,
why one of my biggest influences is Neil Gaiman, and Neil Gaiman he has a knack for writing some horrendous things, but at the same time there can be these beautiful moments, and there these moments of levity, and these moments of of just beautiful epiphanies that you go like, damn, that's profound.
mhm.
And um, rather than limit the colors that you can use for a story, he's like, no, I want to use something bright for this chapter, but why not? And
Mhm.
if it makes sense for the story, if it feeds it, if it's not checking a box, for me the only thing that I have a big issue with is when people check boxes.
Mhm.
um I have a gay character, I have a black character, I have whatever character, because I have to, and I want to do diversity. That just annoys me. For me, when I went from Only Human to Shadow of a Human, I was very conscious that I wanted to be more mindful of having more diversity, but I wanted, rather than forcing it, I just took some of the characters from Only Human and I expanded on them.
Mhm.
I've always had an affinity for Asian culture, particularly Chinese, but in this one, I wanted to explore more Japan, and we go to Japan. Hey, there you go.
Oh, there they are. I have to say, I love all of your covers. Like
Um,
all of your covers look so cool.
all of the covers,
Oh,
it's
there they are.
yeah, that's phenomenal. All of the covers are a labor of love. I've refined the process. When I'm gonna do, I've done some of my covers. I actually rhymes from the Wicked Nursery. This is stock image that I was able to find, and this is custom made font.
Oh, nice.
Making this was an absolute pain in the ass, but it was
Oh,
totally worth it. Um,
do you do all your covers? Do you do your
no,
own
no, no,
covers?
no, no, no. I hire out, and I am not a proponent or a fan of AI. I am a fan of artists. Um, this was an artist from Puerto Rico. Her name is Frances Lugo. Here, I really wasn't sure what I wanted for the cover, and we got to a cover, and it's nice. And she followed my directions to a T, but it could have been better. Just because after you do other covers that you nail, you're like, this one is from Melissa Lettuce. She's, I think, from Pennsylvania. She's an artist. She helped me so much with this cover, and I'm so happy. And by the way, in the Daydreams on the Sherbet Shore, this is
Oh,
me,
that's
because
you.
I write myself into the stories. Um, there is the Mimi, and there is the literary me. The difference is that one is purely a character and the one who's the mastermind behind most of what happens in the stories, and the other one is just me. And one is, again, I am a big fan of Willy Wonka, but there's a little bit of Willy Wonka to Fayed. His name is Fayed Odstein. It's fate, and Odstein, it's an anagram for destino, which is fate in Spanish.
Oh,
Um, and he appears in Given to Fly. This was Raf Tangal. He is the son. I forget the name of his dad, but his dad is actually a comic book illustrator. Very
oh,
good, very talented guy. He's from the Philippines. Raf, apart from being one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet and have one of the biggest sneaker collections that you're ever going to meet, he's a super talented guy. When he sent me the layout for this, um, the only revisions that I asked were the house was originally green. I asked him for a different color so that it would have contrast, and I asked him for a door.
yes.
That's it. For Penumbra, which is the Spanish one, I worked with Carelis Luna, who is an artist from Puerto Rico. And again, I do creative briefs. We have a conversation. We work through it. The human cycle, that was Jose Arocho, Tony from. I worked with Tony in advertising, and when you've been with someone in the trenches and you know that you can trust them, good things can happen.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Yeah, you've got some really stunning covers. I really, really enjoy them.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you mentioned sneaker collection
Yeah.
of the artist, but tell me about the socks.
And well, the socks are me.
I know they're you. That's why I want to hear about the socks.
So, okay, wait.
What do we
Today
got
we
today?
have Bob Ross.
Nice.
Let me give you a side view.
I like it.
So the socks is socket to me. When work is not insane, I have stuff that I do on social media across the board, meaning that on Mondays I do visual typos. Today I was able to actually do a visual typo. I hadn't done one in a long time, and this is me. I make a typo and I make a crappy visual off that, and just to get people laughing. On Tuesdays, it's Dictionary. I take a word, and if it says novelty, it will say novel and then a dash and T as in TEA, because I am a big fan of tea.
Me too.
And I invent a little definition. I am eventually going to release a dictionary, like a full blown dictionary. I just need enough definitions for me to feel happy about that. On Wednesdays, it's Sky Thoughts. I try to have Um, it's like deep thoughts, and just lovely, motivating messages, and where I want my mindset to be.
Mhm.
It's been a couple of challenging months, so I
Mhm.
haven't written one. So I'm gonna write one this week. That is
Good.
a promise.
You guys heard
And
that. You guys heard that.
on
Witnesses.
on Thursdays, I do socket tuning. Um, that began because some people, they were actually comparing boots and stuff, and I'm like, I don't have many. I'm not a shoes guy. I'll have a shoe, and
Only
I'm very
one.
practical in that.
Only one shoe, and then at some point you buy the second shoe.
No,
You
no,
have
no.
two shoes.
There's some people that have like a collection. They have 10 shoes or 12 or 15 or a menagerie of shoes. I have enough to put on my feet and go out the door and be functional. And then I was at a very corporate job where you had to follow a dress code. And my little rebellious side was like, why don't I get fun socks? And it's gotten out of control. I don't know how many pairs of socks I have. Eventually, I'm gonna ask my wife to just take a picture of me, and toss all the socks over me, and I'm probably gonna be buried. Um, if I would have to give you a guesstimate in terms of pair of socks, 125.
Wow.
I think.
Wow. That's a
I
lot.
and I think I'm going under, but
Wow.
I'm not sure. I haven't counted them.
You definitely should get in the bathtub and have your wife dump all the socks on top of you so you're drowning in them. I think that would be great.
Well, drinking tea.
Yeah. I have a picture of me. So I write smut under a different name, and I was going to a convention, and they have, you can put stuff in the bags, the attendee bags. And so what I did is I bought a whole bunch of stickers with my little logo on it and stuff that have my website. And I bought condoms, like tons of condoms. And so I put stickers on all the condoms to put in the swag bags. But before I sent the condoms to the convention, I laid in the bathtub and I had my husband cover me with condoms. So there are literally pictures of me drowning in condoms. So yes. Tiffany says, I have tons of fun socks, but the thing I hate is wearing shoes. So I wear flip flops all the time. So I have socks that I don't wear. Oh, that's a shame. You should
I
get sandals instead of flip flops, like Birkenstocks or something. So you could just
Yeah.
like wear your sock and shove your foot in it. How many are
No, I actually think that all of my socks are complete. Amazingly, if they're not complete, I've tossed them, and it's probably exercise socks or
You must
just
have some dark magic going that you don't lose any socks. That's amazing.
maybe.
I really. Oh,
Oh Lord.
that's the condom. That's my husband, by the way. Yeah, the condoms were unused. They were in their packets. So yeah, it was hilarious.
And on Fridays I do double O bananas. I haven't done them in a long while just because
What is that?
I am a banana secret agent, and it's basically it's a little silent movie. I establish this scene, I pop out of somewhere or do something stupid or silly. I show a banana, I nod to the camera, and I leave. That is the equation. That is the formula. I have some in mind. I just haven't filmed them because, again, bandwidth.
You should do that. You should come to Multiverse and do it at Multiverse.
I'll bring I have a prop banana thanks to Andy Mango. He gifted me a plastic banana, which sounds awful, but it is hilarious.
I mean, useful for you.
It is very useful. I didn't know that it was going to be that useful, and oh Lord, yeah, because
then
sometimes
go ahead.
no, I've tried to do trick shots and trick videos with the bananas, and a banana will bruise and it will not look pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And it will also allow you to like carry the banana around in places that you may not, want to carry actual food or something, or
I
you can
hate
have
to
it
be
with you
wasteful. No, I hate
for
to be
banana
wasteful.
emergencies.
No, I've only had one banana that I couldn't eat after the video just because it was banged up to oblivion.
That poor banana.
I can look it up. I wanted to do a triple flip and grab it, and it took me so many shots. Eventually, I got it, but when I peeled the banana, it was like pudding. It was so it was off-putting is being kind,
Off-putting pudding.
pretty much.
That is hilarious. Oh my gosh, I'm dying. All right, but on top of all that, you're also something of a musician, right? You
Yes,
play music.
I'm something of a. I don't have official releases. I do have, well, what is an official release? I do have videos on YouTube. I do have SoundCloud. Um, and mostly it's original songs
Mhm.
on the acoustic guitar, and it's a lot of fun. It's something that I've and people ask me, "Oh, so how did you learn how to write?" And I'm like, by writing. So how did I learn how to play the guitar? By playing. I can't read music for shit. So everything is muscle memory, intuitive, and audio.
And by ear. That's cool.
And yeah, I've been doing that since I was 17. I actually did a song that I don't know if we're actually going to use at my job. It's still on the table. It's
Wow.
something for road safety, and they were like, "Oh, it would be cool if we had a song." So I just put three chords together, got a melody, and wrote a
Ta-da!
song.
Ta-da! Magic.
Yeah.
Magic. So all of these things together, is that why you call yourself a creativity ambassador?
Yes, because all of these things are outlets and just ways of you channeling energy.
Mhm.
And sometimes people limit themselves in terms of they think there's only one way to be kind. I wrote a book about, you know, how to be kind. I disagree on the assessment that there are only a finite amount of ways that one can be kind. So I wrote peace, love, and my heroes, which is how I sign most of my letters. And it's just a little phrase that I've been using for a long while. Um, and people, again, for me, writing is liberating. And yes, I want to make millions. Yes, I want to make it big. Yes, I want a series and an adaptation. And I want someone to say, man, can we do a video game of one of your books? And I can go like, oh, we can write something new specifically for a video game and stuff like that. And to me, it's just fun. The nature of creativity and the core of what it's at. It's having fun with your brain and with the imagination and just giving yourself the freedom to create. And so many people suffer with their art. Um, and sometimes I do too. It's not like I don't suffer and I'm not editing and going, ah, ah.
Right?
We all, we
Who
all have
wrote
those days.
that?
Well, I've had the thing is that I've also had the reaction of saying who wrote that, rereading stuff I've reread The Human Cycle and I've reread other of my works as a reader, and I've gone like, wow, I forgot that twist.
Yes, I like that.
Um, Unfortunately, that hasn't happened in a panel or at a live setting where someone asks me something. I go, which chapter was that? For them, well, that's actually chapter 26. Did you forget what you wrote? And I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
that
Yes.
happens. I'm writing a lot of stuff, my friend.
I have enough trouble actually rereading my work in order to edit it. Like once I've gone through it like 2 or 3 times, I'm done. I'm like, I don't even want to look at it again. I don't want to think about it again. I want to look at it again, get it out of my face. Let me work on something else.
Nah, but to me, to get back in the mood of the daydreams, I read the first, and I was like, I want to elevate this with the Human Cycle. Before I wrote Shadow of a Human, I reread Only Human, and now that I'm working on Beyond Human, and I've finished the manuscript, I just got to edit it, and there's a lot of things that I know that I'm going to change. I remember it's in the back burner, and the
Mm.
gnomes and the goblins are tinkering and go like, yes, master, yes, tell us when we will edit, we have the ideas. um
I really want to hire your team.
um but it's fun rereading stuff.
I feel like I'm gonna need to do that. I haven't finished the last book of my series, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to do that because it's been because of life, right? I was supposed to finish it in 2020, so that didn't
Oh,
work out.
let's not talk about due dates. I'm part of the reason why I'm indie is because I would be completely, I would
Yes.
breach contract after contract
I
after
I
contract.
have I have a contract with Falstaff Books, and I am like 2 years late on the first book. And like he's cool because he knows what's going on with my life. We've had trees falling and cancer scares and all kinds of crazy crap. So he knows. So it's cool. But I feel really crappy. But I'm finally getting back into it. So that's
Okay.
good. So coming back to the music, Joe has a question. Something I always wondered, have you ever thought of a Double O Bananas theme song? I feel like this is a need because it would be great to play with the videos.
No, because if I did something for Double O Bananas, it would have to be funny and silly and stupid. I did do
It
the
feels
intro
like a
song.
double alley.
No, I did 3 videos. I have to do more of those as well. Again, a lot of ideas and a lot of stuff that I give it a whirl just for shits and giggles. But there's a series of videos that I did called Jerry the Geriatric Millennial because it was about 2 years back where an article came that labeled people of my age in two years forward and backwards as geriatric millennials, and I was like, oh fuck you. And so I play, and the thing is that this was perfect because for the time that I recorded this was full on pandemic, so I had long hair and I looked even more frazzled than normal. So I'm just talking like this about the good old days where you could listen to music on a physical device and stuff like that. But the intro theme song, I did it with loops on GarageBand, and it's Jerry, the geriatric millennial. Wow, it's as hokey and as cheesy as it needed to be.
Well, see, you could totally do a Double O Bananas one. I mean, like, and Anita likes your videos, and Tiffany says that the best kind of theme songs are when they're silly. I think
Nah, it's if it ever comes through organically, I'll definitely do it, but it's not something that I can force. And that's why I haven't done a video in so long, because they would be forced. And again, I have ideas, but it's just like, okay, where am I going to record? Because I keep recording in the same places, and I just want to freshen it up a little.
Yes, I understand that. I totally get that. So I get the impression you're a little bit of a geek. Would you say that's true? Oh, look. So
How's that?
I'm happy to be your DP if you do one at MV. I'm assuming that's multiverse. But I don't know what the DP means.
I don't know. I don't want to presume, because those are dangerous letters to be back to
Yes,
back.
I was like, I feel like what I think is not the correct thing. So I'm sure Joe is like bright red now and fiercely typing the explanation into the chat. So director of photography,
Okay.
camera guy. See, that makes much more sense than what I was thinking.
I'll get. I've got some ideas, Joe. We'll do something.
So
Not sure how long you're going to be here, but we'll do something for sure.
A cool thing for next year is that at Multiverse is that we're going to have a dedicated room for stuff like that. So something to think about. Just something to think about.
If next year is a lot more chill than this one, seriously, right now, part of me is lamenting that, oh man, I'm not going to have a booth, or not going to participate, etc. But seriously, I just can't.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I totally get that. There's stuff that I just had to bow out of because I just don't have. I mean, I think the lockdown and the pandemic has changed all of us. All of us in different ways, but I think it's changed all of us in how we deal with being social as well.
No, for me, it's just how much I can take on and take on board. It's been some challenging years. It's something that I'm going to be writing about, and that I have been working to write about and share more about, just to demystify the stigma and be open and honest about it. Hasn't been the most fun couple of years. Things are better, but wow, man,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if absolutely everyone crashed and burned or et cetera. I do think that a lot of people took a lot of big hits in terms of life
Yeah.
for a myriad of reasons and for a myriad of things. I had my own rough encounters of the third kind, and you get past it. But I've learned when I have to say no,
Yeah.
and again, because I've known to push, do all the things, push, and then you're in deep waters and you're short of breath and
Mhm.
you can't even see the light of the surface and you're screwed.
Yeah.
So it's just being mindful of that, and I'd rather be honest with people and say I can't do it.
Mhm.
I want to do it. I love you. I will support you in any other way that I can. But right now, this I can't do it.
Yes.
And I've learned to be super okay with that.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, I've always been pretty good at saying no if I didn't want to do something. But sometimes if you want to do it, like my problem was sometimes if I wanted to do it, but I really shouldn't because I don't have the time or I don't have the energy or whatever, I should say no. And those are the times when I would have a problem. I don't have a problem saying no if I don't want to do something.
No, I used to have a problem to just saying no in general.
Yeah.
And I'm a people pleaser. I want people to be happy. I want
Yeah.
to help people as much as possible, but it gets to a point where it's like,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes.
And then you realize that some people are just in it for transactional reasons, and you go like, I don't feel that bad anymore.
Yeah.
With
That's
some
true.
people, it's like, shit, I still need to read this person's book and finish it
Mhm.
and review it and stuff like that. With other people, it's like, you know what? It's not that bad that we're not in touch.
Yes. Yes. I think a lot of us learned who was important in our lives
Oh
and
yeah.
who we thought were important in our lives, but weren't.
No, a lot of people step their game up in really big ways in my life, and people who have
Mhm.
people. I The pandemic was one. When mom passed away was another one. Um, a lot of people showed their true colors, and again, I could focus on negative, but there were so many positives, and so many people were so
Yeah.
lovely in so many ways. Like people that I've never met in real life were really there. Were really there, and the force is strong with them, and you could feel the support and you could feel the love. And it's like if you ever need to talk, and these are people that are in time zones away.
Yes.
They're like, if you ever need to talk. Speaking of, um, and yeah, some people get driven by proving the naysayers wrong, and I
Mhm.
get that. That's their motivation. For me, what motivates me is proving the people that believed in me right. Far less, and part of me, yeah, I might have that chip on my shoulder with certain people that I go like, why do you care so little? And then I always have to remind myself, because that doesn't matter, and there's other stuff that does matter.
Yeah.
That's why that other person or those other people will never be in a daydream. And that's why wonderful, special people whom I love and cherish and adore, and my life is endlessly better because of them being in my life, they will get a VIP trip to the daydreams.
I love that. I really do love that. For real. So I want to come back to your geekdom though. What do you consider your biggest geekdom? What thing do you geek out? Like whether it's an artist, whether it's a recording artist, or whether it's a writer, or whether it's a TV show or movie franchise or whatever.
There are just so many things that I geek on about. I always say that if Pearl Jam was a color, I would bleed Pearl Jam. Um, and that is my band. But curiously, if I could have my pick of who would I have want to go to a bar to after a show, it wouldn't be Pearl Jam. It
Who would
would
it
be
be?
the guys from Elbow.
Oh, I don't
The
know.
guy Elbow is a band from the UK. If you haven't heard them and you like bands like Talk Talk or Peter Gabriel or stuff that's a bit more melancholy and mellower,
Mhm.
They are some really lovely guys. They're high school friends, and just nice guys. And it's like in interviews they go like, I understand why some big bands they need their space, etc. But I don't understand what it is to finish a show and not have a pint with a mate. And you go like, ah.
That is awesome.
And if you haven't seen, they actually did live versions of their songs during the pandemic called Elbow Rooms, and they actually released that as a release.
Oh, that's cool.
It is beautiful. I saw a lot of people do that. I think among the best by far were they released an album of their
Mhm.
performances. That just goes to show. So I geek out about those a lot. I geek out about 90s music big time. Um, if you read my books, you know that I'm a 90s music whore. I have, and I just love music, and I have a character based on a whole lot of Rosie from AC/DC. There's a character named Jeremy from Pearl Jam. And I do a cheeky jab at the song because he's actually, Jeremy is a child vampire, and he is the schoolmaster in this school where people, and eventually I'm going to write about that, where humans and Therians, shapeshifters, and vampires coexist in the same school.
Oh.
So there's peace in that school, and he is the headmaster. And in that office, there is a painting of a boy with his arms raised in a V with a pool of maroon below. To give you an example of that, in Given to Fly, there's not one, there's two characters based off Tori Amos. There's Tallulah and there's Scarlet. Um,
Oh.
if you've listened to Boys from Pele, my favorite
Mhm.
song from Tori Amos is Tallulah,
I love
specifically
that
the,
song.
the the version from the Twister soundtrack. I've listened to different versions. That's the one that I like the most. Scarlet's Walk is a beautiful album, and I like the story behind that album.
Mhm.
So as you can see with movies, I geek out a lot. But in video games, if we get talking about video games, it's going to be a long conversation, and I'm always playing something. Right now, I'm playing Nino Kuni. Before that, I was playing Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Before that, I was playing Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Before that, before that, before that,
So
before
do
that.
you play all the way through to the end, or do you just stop playing and play something else?
Um, I normally finish and then switch to the next one. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is the exception because I stopped playing that to play Tears from the Kingdom, and I played that straight for about 3 months. We weren't watching movies, we weren't watching anything. I was just playing, and my wife was helping me. I was like, "Oh, you have to look for this, and you have to do that." I think there's a chest there and stuff like that. Um, so super geek out on that. They're Given to Fly, there are so many tributes to stuff that I geek out about. I geek out about food. On Tuesdays, I also do the taste test. I'm very consistent with those. Lately, it's just easier to do.
I mean, it
So
involves eating, so I
it,
can see that.
it involves eating, but in that book, there is a little nod to Noam Chomsky. There's a massive bookworm that eats books that isn't called Noam. And there's a
Mustard
character
Skittles are my
based.
favorite.
Yeah.
Joe says mustard Skittles are his favorite.
Oh Lord, that was awful. Um, and there's also a character based off. Have you ever seen the movie A Chinese Hero,
Mm-mm.
or A Man Called Hero? A, no, A Man
No,
Called Hero. It
no.
is it is a Hong Kong movie. It is based on the Chinese Hero comic books. I got to know these comics in their Jademan version, which was in the mid '80s to early '90s. They had a run in the U.S. Under the names Blood Sword and Blood Sword Dynasty. Some of the best artwork, some of the best storylines, and all of these are like cornerstone influences in terms of my writing and the genres that I'm interested in, the topics that I'm interested in, a lot of stuff. And in terms of how to creatively kill people in battle, I learned a lot from those comics, and I was reading that when I was like 9.
Wow.
But there's a tribute to a character there called his name is Hirohua, and in the book it's called Mr. Hero.
Oh, that's awesome. I love stuff like that, that people who are in that would recognize it, right? Like people,
I don't know anyone who's read those comics except like three other people that I know back, the people that got me hooked on the comics,
right.
and one other person.
Yes. But I mean, not just that specifically, but like all the other things, right? The Tallulah
Yeah.
Toriyama reference and stuff like that. I do that. I mean, those who don't know, I'm a huge Duran Duran nerd, and every one of my books, somewhere in the book, there's a line that has some lyric from some Duran Duran song. And unless you're a Duranie,
You won't get it.
you won't see it. Like, I mean, it'll just be words.
Well, Shadow of a Human has one character based on Shannon Hoon from Blind Melon, who that's one of my favorite bands ever, even though they only have two official albums and one compilation-ish album that has five stellar tracks and a lot of filler. And the other one is in Aiel, which is based off Lane Staley.
Hmm.
Big fan of Alice in Chains. There are mentions and hints to some of my favorite songs from both. I The process for writing the dialogue for those characters was really interesting because basically I took all the lyrics from these
Mhm.
my favorite songs. I dumped them, I selected what I like best, and then I had to paraphrase enough so that I don't get sued.
Right. Yes.
And that people might get it, but it's like, that's not exactly there's a scene also where they actually go to a building called the Seven Heavens in Shadow of a Human, and they have to basically extract the seven deadly sins from seven demons.
Oh.
And one particular demon is actually the lead singer for a metal band, and the song is called Mosh of Pigs. If you like Nine Inch Nails,
That's hilarious. Margaret says, I'm sorry, I was told childlike wonder and I tuned in to kill people in battle. That's because you were late, Margaret. That's why. You missed the early part where we talked about childlike wonder. You missed
we
it
kill people with kindness too.
also, in addition. So, but welcome. We're glad you joined us. Huzzah. Um, we've only got a couple minutes left. Did we miss anything you wanted to cover in the conversation? Is there anything?
There's a rhyme from the Wicked Nursery. I showed you the cover. This is the most fun that I've ever had writing poetry in terms of just whimsical fun. And it actually won me an award, the Book Fest Awards. I think it was last
Oh,
year. Um,
oh, that is so
I'm gonna
cool.
read one just for shits and
Do it.
giggles.
Do it.
So I didn't select this. I literally opened, and this one's called Dull Deidre. Little dull Deidre did drop her dainty doll into a puddle of water in which she then did fall. A laugh was then heard, but somehow didn't last. For one is quick to learn that bullies do drown fast. All it takes is an inch or two of water and some pressure, and then to not let go of you until fresh silence is treasured. Little dull Deidre did drop her dainty doll, but don't you say a word, or else she'll slay you all.
Ooh.
So I wanted to write something that was worthy of the Adams Family library,
Yes, I love that. I love that. That's so cool. Thanks
and
for reading.
I was writing that and giggling, and my wife is like, "What the hell are you writing?" And it's like, "Wait,
Wait for it.
you will see." And that one was a lot of fun, and I've learned that the more, if I feel an absolute release, or if I have a lot of fun, or if I'm crying, if like really really deep emotions are felt when I'm writing, good things happen.
Yeah.
um and when it's something that I've noticed, that with my short stories, the ones that are older, that I was still honing my craft in terms of just being true to the story, and what taking a little part of me and putting it in the story. It didn't have as much of that. And when you see the short stories that I'm writing now, you, without it feeling heavy, you feel that way. And I'm really happy with that part of my evolution. And maybe it's just that I found the right stories to tell.
Mm.
and the right twists, and that I go like, oh, that is very me, and I don't think I've ever read anyone that's done something like that. And the more that I can do that, the more that I smile.
Yes, I love that. I think that is an excellent place to wrap up. So tell everybody where we can find you.
You can find me on the interwebs. I am on Twitter. I'm still on Twitter, but I'm
The
just tweet.
X.
It's Twitter.
It's shitter.
It's Gita.
Okay.
Oh Lord, there's been like the cult of Musk. People,
Oh God.
it's like, dude, get a room,
Yeah, for real.
whatever. So I'm still on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I am on YouTube. I am posting on TikTok. I am on Threads. I got an
Wow.
account on Blue Sky. Um, I'm just dabbling
Mm,
and seeing how it flows, but it's, uh, the best place to find me is probably Instagram. I think that's where I'm most active, followed by Facebook, just because that's where most people comment. In terms of people, oh yeah,
interaction.
just
Yeah.
cracking their knuckles, and I need to leave a hefty comment. They go to town on Facebook, and hey, it lends itself to that, and I welcome it. I welcome it, and I'm always happy when people really read, really enjoy, and really comment. And when you get like a happy birthday that's like HBD, it's like, and then there's some people that's like a papyrus scroll, like, and I go like, let
I
me let me.
wanted something meaty to read
So,
today.
so yeah, the links will probably be in the doobly doo, how some people say it. And if you want to get my books, I'm still online for digital. I'm still only on the Zon. I want to change that so badly, but have to manage the waters.
Yes.
But for now, the Zon is just convenient. If you want to buy my books, I'm always going to refer to you to buy my books at Tazas y Portadas, which is a local bookstore in Puerto Rico. Right now, they're setting up pop-up shops in different places on the
Oh,
island, and I think it's an interesting concept. And finally, if and when you buy any of my 21 books this month, all of the proceeds are going to go to. I'm donating all my proceeds to support the people from Maui. I'm probably going to shift in October and November to help people in Morocco, but I haven't identified causes that I feel comfortable
yeah.
supporting. For Maui, I found one that people that are trustworthy. They were like, this is the place that you have to donate. So it's like, let's go. Um, so yeah,
Awesome.
that's pretty much it.
Yay. Well, thank you for joining me with your cocktail. You had a really fancy cocktail. So thank you everybody for being with us. We appreciate you. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all the things, because the Go Indie Now network is fabulous, and there's so many good shows. So thanks everybody. I hope everybody has a great week. Thank you, JD. Always appreciate you. And y'all, it's always time to go indie now.